wish I knew this 6 months ago. It would have saved me 6 months and $380,000. Carol, a client of mine, said this to me almost 20 years ago. This video will show you how to sell a business and not make the same $380,000 mistake Carol did. She owned a regional staffing company, 58 years old, built it over 22 years, $4.2 million in annual revenue, profitable, well run. She had been thinking about selling for 3 years and finally decided she was ready. She called me 6 months after she had already signed a listing agreement with another broker. 6 months in, no offers. The listing had gone quiet. She was frustrated, confused, and starting to wonder if her business was the problem. When I looked at what had happened, the business was not the problem. The business was good. The problem was Carol had walked into the most complex financial transaction of her life without understanding what the process actually looked like, what the stages were, what happened at each one, what she needed to prepare, and what the broker was supposed to be doing versus what she was supposed to be doing. 6 months of a stale listing is not a neutral outcome. In this market, a business that has been sitting unsold for 6 months starts to carry a question mark. Buyers wonder what's wrong with it. Offers, when they come in, reflect the uncertainty. Carol's listing problem was not just about time. It was about what the time cost her in market perception and ultimately in the price she accepted. The process of selling a business is not complicated, but it is specific. And the sellers who go in knowing the stages, knowing what to expect at each one, and knowing what their job is at every step have a fundamentally different experience than the ones who don't. If you built a business and you're starting to think seriously about selling, and nobody has ever walked you through what the process actually looks like from start to finish, this video is specifically for you. In this video, I'm going to walk you through every stage of the business sale process in the order it actually happens, what occurs at each stage, what you need to have ready, and how long each stage typically takes. I will show the most common mistakes at each stage and how to not make them. After all, these mistakes cost time and money. Be sure to listen to the end, because at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the one step that most sellers skip entirely. It doesn't sound dramatic, but in 18 years, I have never seen a step cost sellers more time and money than this one. I'm Matt Ewell, founder of Ridge Trail Capital, 18 years, $200 million in M&A transactions and associated deals. If you own a business and you've been thinking about selling, but nobody has walked you through what the process actually looks like, what to expect at each stage, and what your job is at every step, that gap is exactly what this channel is for. We publish a new video every single week. Hit subscribe. There are 10 million business owners in America who are expected to sell their businesses over the next decade. The vast majority of them have never sold a business before, and almost none of them have ever had someone sit down and walk them through the process before they started it. This is not an accident. The business sale process is not taught anywhere. The assumption is that the broker will explain it, and many brokers do after the listing agreement is signed, when the seller is already committed. What I'm going to give you now is what every seller deserves to have before they sign anything. The full process in order. Stage 1, preparation. Timeline, 1 to 24 months before listing. This is the most important stage and the most skipped. Preparation means getting the business ready for the scrutiny of a buyer's due diligence, clean financials, 3 years of P&Ls and tax returns that tell a consistent, clear story, documented systems and processes that a new owner can follow without needing you in the room. Reduced owner dependency. Sellers who prepare for 12 to 24 months before listing consistently achieve higher multiples and shorter time to close than sellers who list immediately. The preparation stage is where the $500,000 gap between what a business sells for and what it could have sold for are created or prevented. Stage 2, valuation. Timeline, 2 to 4 weeks. A formal or informal assessment of what the business is worth in today's market based on SDE or adjusted EBITDA, comparable transactions, and the specific factors that affect your multiple. The valuation stage produces the number that anchors the listing. If this number is too high because a broker told you what you wanted to hear, the listing will sit. If it's too low, you'll leave money on the table before the first buyer conversation. Stage 3, broker selection and listing agreement. Timeline 1 to 3 weeks. This is where you choose who represents you and sign the agreement that governs how the transaction is managed. The listing agreement covers the commission rate, the listing duration, the exclusivity terms, and the tail period. Everything in it is negotiable. The consequence of choosing the wrong broker at this stage is 12 to 18 months of your life and a final sale price that reflects the market's declining interest. Stage 4, marketing and buyer outreach. Timeline 1 to 6 months. The broker takes the business to market. This is the stage where most sellers are the least visible and the most anxious. What you should be doing during this stage, continuing to run the business at full performance. The worst thing a seller can do while a business is on the market is let performance slip. Buyers see trailing 12 months of financials. A revenue dip during the listing period is a negotiating liability. Stage 5, buyer qualification and the SIM. Timeline, ongoing during stage 4. Interested buyers sign an NDA and receive a confidential information memorandum, the SIM, which is a detailed document describing the business, its financials, and its operations. A well-prepared SIM accelerates the deal. Most sellers delegate the SIM entirely to their broker. The sellers who get the best outcome review it carefully and make sure the story it tells about their business is the story they want business buyers to see. Stage 6, offers and the letter of intent. Timeline, when qualified buyers submit. An offer comes in as a letter of intent, the LOI, which outlines a proposed purchase price, deal structure, and key terms. It is non-binding on most points, but sets the framework. This is where most sellers make their most expensive negotiating mistake. Because the deal feels real for the first time, sellers accept terms they should push back on. Once you sign it, your leverage decreases. Stage 7, due diligence. Timeline, 30 to 90 days. The buyer's team examines everything: financials, legal operations, customer contracts. This is the most stressful stage for most sellers and the stage where the most deals fall apart. The sellers who survive due diligence without a price renegotiation are the ones who prepared in stage 1. Every problem a buyer finds in due diligence becomes negotiating leverage. Stage 8, closing. Timeline 2 to 4 weeks after due diligence. The purchase agreement is finalized, signed, and the wire transfer is executed. Closing is not the end. Most transactions include a transition period, typically 90 days up to a year, during which the seller stays on to facilitate the handover. The terms of the transition period should be negotiated before the LOI is signed, not after. Now let me tell you what actually happens when a seller goes into this process without understanding the map. Problem 1, the premature listing. The most common version of Carol's mistake is going to market before stage 1 preparation is complete. The listing goes live, and 6 weeks later, the buyer's accountant asks for add-back documentation, and it doesn't exist. Or the buyer asks, who runs the business when the owner is on vacation? And the honest answer is nobody. Every one of those gaps is a negotiating liability. In my experience, sellers who go to market without adequate preparation lose between 15 and 25% of their original asking price through diligence renegotiations. On a $3 million business, that's $450,000 to $750,000 because the documentation didn't support it. Problem 2, the stale listing. A business that has been on the market for more than 6 months without an accepted offer has a problem. A stale listing is a signal that undermines the seller's negotiating position. The offers that come in on month 8 are lower than the offers that would have come in on month 2. Problem 3, giving up leverage at the LOI. Sellers who don't understand the process reach stage 6 and feel a wave of relief. Someone wants to buy the business. That urgency is the most expensive emotion in a business sale. The LOI is the last moment of maximum leverage for the seller. Once it's signed, the buyer controls the timeline. Due diligence gives them tools to renegotiate. I've put together an exit planning checklist. It covers every stage of the process with a specific checklist of what you need to have ready before each one. If you're a business owner who is thinking seriously about selling in the next 1 to 5 years, that checklist is specifically for you. The gap between prepared and unprepared on a $3 million business is routinely $450,000 to $750,000. That gap is expensive. Download it free at ridgetrailcapital.com, resources, exit checklist. Link in the description. Here's what I want you to do with everything you've just learned. 3 moves. Move 1, map your position in the process right now. Take the 8 stages I've just described and figure out where you are. If you're thinking about selling in the next 5 years and you haven't started stage 1, preparation, you are behind. If you're in due diligence right now and you're seeing gaps, get your broker and your attorney in a room and address them proactively before the buyer's team finds them. Move 2. Start stage 1 today, regardless of your timeline. The single most common regret I hear from sellers is, I wish I had started preparing sooner. Stage 1 preparation is not about getting ready to sell tomorrow. It's about building a business that is structurally sellable, one that doesn't depend on you personally, that has clean financials and documented systems. A business built to those standards is more valuable when you run it. Start today. Move 3, the one step most sellers skip and that costs more time and money than any other single mistake. Here it is. It is the buyer qualification conversation before the LOI. Most sellers treat the letter of intent as the beginning of the serious buyer relationship. What they have not done is spend 2 or 3 hours in direct conversation with the buyer before the LOI, understanding exactly who this person is, where their capital is coming from, and what their track record looks like. I have watched sellers lose 90 days, $20,000 in legal fees, and their entire market momentum to a buyer who was never qualified to close. Every one of these situations has a version of the same root cause. The seller didn't qualify the buyer before signing the LOI. Before you sign any letter of intent, have a direct conversation with the buyer. Ask them specifically where their capital is coming from. The answers to those questions will tell you more about whether this deal will close than anything in an LOI. Let me go back to Carol for a moment. When we spoke 6 months into her failed listing, the first thing we did was go back to stage 1. We spent 3 months cleaning up the financials, documenting the systems, and addressing the concentration risk in her customer base. Then we relisted, different broker, better position, better price. Carol sold her business 14 months after that conversation at a price that was $380,000 higher than the best offer she had received in the first 6 months of the original listing. $380,000 from doing the work in stage 1 that should have been done before she ever listed. This is what the map is worth. If you want to walk through your specific situation, where you are in the process, what your preparation gap looks like, and what the realistic path to a strong exit looks like, book a free discovery call by clicking the link below. No pressure, no pitch, just your specific situation and an honest conversation about what's possible. Because most business owners only sell once. Make sure that one time counts. See you at the next video.